The grandfather of post-apocalyptic, isometric, turn-based RPGs has finally come back. The game looks and feels amazing. It really shows how much inXile cares about this IP with their impeccable attention to detail. The combat is insanely addictive, and once you get the feel for it, you will never want to put it down. There's enough customization options to keep you messing with countless unique builds. I really felt that the versatility of the character creation opens up the player to want to have multiple playthroughs. The story is amazingly deep and features next level writing that will keep you hooked to the mouse and keyboard till it's time to close out the final chapter. This game is absolute perfection. What's this? Oh shit! I'm supposed to be talking about Wasteland 3! Wasteland 3 is a strategy RPG set in the post-apocalyptic American West, where you take command of the famed Desert Rangers from the previous game. Hot off the heels of a successful Kickstarter for Wasteland 2, inXile and Deep Silver bring us the next installment in this series. Real quick, for those of you who need to be told this, the Fallout games were better before Bethesda got their greedy hands on them and turned them into a joke. You see, originally those games were just like this. You had a top-down perspective and combat was done through an action points reliant, turn-based system. And what's more, the original Fallout game, to my understanding, is based off of a 1988 RPG of the same style called Wasteland. But there was never a sequel made for this PC game, despite being a cool, influential title. It just didn't happen. That is until 2012, when through the power of Kickstarter, new life was pumped into this old school IP. I distinctly remember finding out about this project. It was so ambitious, and the cover art looked amazing, and from reading the description of the Kickstarter, I wanted this to happen so bad. Well, so did a lot of other people because it got kickstarted, and they put it out, and guys, it was great. Wasteland 2 kicked so much ass, and deserves every bit more of your hard-earned dollars and attention than any old garbage Todd Howard and Team Big B spew out at us on the stages of E3. It really made me realize that Bethesda's only contribution to the Fallout franchise was taking the series into the AAA mainstream by making it yet another dull-colored shooter game in a time where there were more dull-colored shooter games than there were gamers. And I'm not saying there was nothing wrong with it being turned into a third-person / first-person shooter. It just seems like Bethesda and ZeniMax didn't know their ass from a hole in the ground for what made that series good. Looking back at Wasteland 2, I really didn't care that it was different, that I had to learn to love an RTS-style combat system and get used to a story told from a top-down, distance perspective. Above all else, 3 things were evident. The game was exciting, it didn't hold your hand, and most importantly, it was designed, well, by competent people. Now, not all of the same can be said about Wasteland 3, regrettably. But first, the stuff I like. For the most part, it feels like a beefier, bigger budget Wasteland 2. This is my immediate impression from the trailers and when I got my hands on it for the very first time at PAX East 2020. You can even hear me saying in some of those videos how this was likely going to be a game of the year for me. It had made that good of a first impression. There's a lot of voice acting and work put into cutscenes where you now see the characters face to face. The amount of visual effects they've added is insane, and the soundtrack is badass. It would make any car tire spike armor clad mercenary proud to blast it whilst plowing through hordes of mutants and raiders. It's a perfect fit. Now the story sucks you in. It gives you a lot and you, as the player, run with it. I found it hard to stop playing the game because I wanted to see more. I especially wanted to see more about how each of my decisions would impact the future events in this cold, brutal, fucked up world. No complaints on the story or its memorable characters.
Guns sanctified with blood.
Guns.
Sanctified.
I want him to say guns sanctified with hot noodles.
Guns sanctified with blood.
Yeah.
Combat is extremely satisfying when it works, and even after meeting my doom, I loved going back to change up my approach just to see how things would go differently. This is where I add that the addition of a quick load feature was much appreciated. Not only can I quick save with the press of a button, I can quickly reload to an earlier state without needing to go through any extra menus. This is the type of thing that should be in all games of this style. Like I said before, the new Fallout games hold your hand too much. You could finish them with your eyes closed. The same goes for Skyrim, sorry Rob. Not in the Wasteland games. You don't get your hand held at all. On some occasions, I just honestly felt lost, and guess what? It was up to me to figure out what to do, using what little information the game provided me. I really prefer this kind of experience and wish more games were like this. One quest asks you to find a synth hiding somewhere in the first major town. He poses a major threat and you've been asked to take care of this. But guess what? I couldn't find him. They give you clues, and a lot of the characters in the game are pretty tight-lipped about it. This only makes the quest more valuable because it isn't just a marker on the map that the game tells you. I feel challenged, and I really want to find that synth. The sad thing is, modern day AAA games instill the habit of blindly following instructions, to the point that you can't blame players for expecting to be guided every step of the way, when that's what all the games do now. Look in there, go here, press X a bunch of times, and roll the credits. Wasteland forces the player to really dig and explore all on their own, a much better way of handling the exploration aspect of exploration games. Speaking of which, if you're playing this game, make sure to very carefully inspect the map fully. A small, dark, unexplored corner of a room can open up and reveal paths that take you to your next objective. Again, they expect you to look for these rather than outright telling you. I have no doubt in my mind a modern Fallout game fan would struggle playing Wasteland. And to put things in even more perspective, a modern Fallout game fan would struggle playing an old school Fallout game. I remind you, there would be no Fallout without this series. And that just means that inXile stayed true to Wasteland's roots. I believe that there is truly something here to be respected. This game has a lot to like, and that is a step in the right direction. Unfortunately, Wasteland 3 is a mess. There are so many bugs and glitches that a lot of people on the internet have declared the game unplayable. That makes me so fucking sad. Somewhere along the line of absolutely kicking Bethesda's ass at making great post-apocalyptic games, the Wasteland team seems to have picked up Big B's habit of releasing broken piles of garbage. Now, I'm not calling Wasteland 3 a broken pile of garbage, but I am calling it broken as all hell. There are bugs that affect the combat, bugs that affect game performance, bugs that affect voice acting. There are menu and HUD bugs. There are bugs all over the place. There's even been reports of the game crashing. I thankfully haven't experienced a single one, but with the way the game slows down to a painful crawl, it might as well crash on me too. And the weird thing is, I have a decent PC. I would have laughed at you if 6 months ago you told me that my machine wouldn't be able to play Wasteland 3.
No one's allowed in there. Which word didn't you understand? Please, step away.
Now, to be fair, from what I remember of my time with Wasteland 2, that game had bugs too, but not like this. Not like this level. At times, it was seriously as bad as Fallout 76 was reported to be. I say reported because I would never buy Fallout 76. I wouldn't touch that game with a 10-foot pole. I don't know what went wrong here. They delayed the game so they had an extra 3 months to work on it, and they even released a 4GB patch to fix known issues, but it still played terribly after that. I even encountered bugs that I hadn't seen before, which makes me think the patch created new bugs. The only thing I could say is that I think this is likely due to the disruption from the global COVID pandemic. It's understandable that at a time like this, any game studio will have difficulty putting out anything of the same pre-2020 quality. But you know what? If that in fact is the problem here, then I wish that they just put their hats up and committed to a later release date. Even far into 2021 if need be. That way the game could have released in a playable state. No, what we have instead is a great game that you can't enjoy because it at times can be impossible to do so. I seriously tried to persevere through all the issues, hoping that they would magically go away. I did that because I liked what was here so much, but sadly, the problems didn't go away. The game is simply in need of an overhaul or something. It ain't right. I did have some other things to say about how like the cool vehicle aspect of the game has problems I wish they did differently, or how it overall feels compared to the previous game regarding attributes and other things I like as well, but I cannot get past the level of jank they shipped this with. The bugs just keep coming up. In preparing this video, I wanted to do as much research I could on the bugs and other people's experiences with this game as I could, for a point of comparison and out of sheer curiosity. Maybe it was just my computer. To be fair, I was streaming most of the time I played it, but I think that would only explain the performance issues, not the bugs. My research led me to a WindowsCentral.com article detailing the problems and potential fixes. It's a pretty long list, but one bullet point in particular stood out to me. Sometimes it feels like lucky mega crits don't actually happen. This was reportedly an issue the Windows Central staff had. But now wait a minute, what's a lucky mega crit, I wondered? I have no idea. 30 hours into the game, I don't think I've ever encountered that feature. It definitely sounds cool though. So this got me thinking. All games should be as bug-free and QA tested as possible. We can all agree on that. But this goes especially for a game like this. When you have random chance as such a crucial element, bugs can drastically alter your experience and you wouldn't even realize. If I had gone through 30 hours of this game, like I have as of now, and I was putting all of my earned experience into these attributes, I will only passively feel the effects and normally wouldn't notice them at all. Not in a concrete way at least, where I point to something that happened and go, oh, that was that attribute. Sure, here and there you will catch it, like when you do a point for coordination and that character now has an extra action point to use in combat, but there are too many variables in play for you to distinguish everything that is improved from, let's say, that +1 you decided to put into luck, or reading that book that gave you an extra point to strength. Imagine a busy restaurant where you need to write down every little detail going on at all times, with all the guests, waiters running around, cooks yelling, food flying all over the place, money changing hands, talking, glasses dropping. It would be impossible, and all they serve is bananas. My point is, I could be playing this whole time not realizing that my attributes were malfunctioning due to a bug in the game. I would have no way of knowing if this was going on. In fact, I don't know if this is going on. It boggles my brain to consider if something in here is completely broken and I don't even realize it. And knowing this game, there could be dozens of hidden bugs we aren't aware of. I wouldn't be surprised if the bug preventing lucky mega crits was happening to me too. This game has so many bugs, Sherlock Holmes couldn't figure out everything wrong with it. There's just so much of it, and a month post-launch, nothing feels improved in the slightest. So I have to be really harsh on a game I thought I would be sitting here praising as my game of the year. This is brutally disappointing. I haven't felt this bad about a game since Y2K, and we all know how disappointing that one was. To sum up how I feel, here's an excerpt from a stream I did where things went from bad to worse with the game bugs and the performance issues. I was asked in chat this question about the game and how I feel, and here was my response. Do you think this game isn't optimized well? Bro, that's an understatement. It's a fucking understatement. I have it on the lowest settings and it's still giving me problems. Lagging like crazy, it's buggy as hell, it's glitchy as hell. I absolutely love what's here though. I absolutely adore this game, like for what it's supposed to be, but the experience is just ruined by all of this. The only thing I can say is that I haven't had any crashes, but I've seen other people say they have that. And that's Wasteland 3. I really hope they can fix it, though I'm not confident they will or even can. If this game gets a No Man's Sky type situation where a boatload of time passes and the game improves dramatically, I will happily replay it from beginning to end. But at this time, the state it's shipped in is miserable and I don't want to waste any more of my time. Thanks for watching. I'm really curious to hear about your experience if you played it too. If anyone played it on console, was it better there? Did anyone not experience issues playing Wasteland 3? Did I just hallucinate all the problems and people complaining on the internet? Please tell me, because if that's the case, I think I need to see a doctor. Don't forget to leave us a comment, like, and subscribe. Stay tuned for the next TSG video. Thanks, I'm out of here.